The execution heard around the stars. The chamber of the Galactic Council was a coliseum of silence, built into the heart of the Orion Spire. The circular hall gleamed with polished obsidian walls and arcane circuitry pulsing a cool, rhythmic blue. Delegates from hundreds of species sat in tiers that wrapped around the central platform, the judgment floor. Every eye, organic or otherwise, was fixed on the lone human suspended midair, bound at the wrists, slowly lowered by grav straps into the council's light. Elias Ward wore the robes of an Earth diplomat, black with subtle silver inlays denoting peace, neutrality, and sovereignty. He had once walked through this chamber with applause trailing behind him. That day, he descended to his death. President Surikoth of the Dominion Bloc, a reptilian figure whose species controlled over 20 systems, stood tall at the podium. For the crimes of inciting rebellion on the neutral colony of Varn Prime, he hissed, and the subversion of council law, Elias Ward of Earth is sentenced to death. The murmurs rippled across the assembly. Some delegates blinked in unease. Others remained stone-faced. But none protested, not aloud. Elias raised his head. His face was bruised from interrogation, but his voice remained sharp. No rebellion was incited. Varn Prime petitioned for independence, legally and peacefully. The only violence came when Dominion warships bombarded civilian habitats. "Silence," snapped Surikoth. Elias didn't flinch. "You're not executing a traitor. You're silencing a voice Earth sent in good faith. And the galaxy will remember." The grav strap stopped. A metal ring opened above, and 3 cords with shimmering nooses descended. Earth's delegation seats were empty. Hours ago, Ambassador Lyra Cho had been forcibly ejected from the chamber when she tried to declare a diplomatic protest. Humanity had been denied even the dignity of witnessing the process. But Earth was watching. The Council's holocast feeds, intended to show their control, were now broadcasting Elias's final moments to billions. The nooses tightened around Elias's neck. His eyes scanned the chamber one last time. "To my people," he said, voice steady, "do not forgive this." The floor beneath him vanished. His body dropped, jerked by the cords, and hung lifelessly under the central light. The silence that followed was heavier than the execution itself. In a quiet room beneath the Himalayas on Earth, President Sana Okoye watched the broadcast. Around her, the United Terran Authorities Council sat frozen. No one spoke. General Arden Voss, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Network, finally broke the silence. "They hanged a diplomat." President Okoye's gaze was unreadable. "They did." Voss's voice hardened. "They wanted a message. Let's send one back." "No," she said softly. "We'll send 1,000. Hours later, the UTA's central net pulsed red. Emergency directive. Project Sovereign Flame activated. Across Mars, Europa, and Titan, Terran war fleets came online. Sleeper battlecruisers emerged from shadow docks. AI firewalls blinked to life. Orbital forges ramped into overdrive. Humanity, a civilization that had sent ambassadors and aid, signed treaties, and offered olive branches, now turned to the only language the galaxy seemed to respect: war. In the outskirts of the NR system, a Dominion supply station received the first message from Earth since the execution. It was a simple transmission: "You murdered peace. We return the favor." Seconds later, the station vanished in a blossom of white fire as Earth stealth corvettes made their first strike. On the Galactic Council homeworld, some delegates watched the transmission logs come in: station losses, fleet casualties, AI breaches, hyperspace anomalies. Others turned to their Dominion allies, demanding to know what they'd unleashed. But it was far too late. Humanity wasn't coming to talk. They were coming to make sure no diplomat was ever hanged again. Terra's wrath. The first week after Elias Ward's execution was quiet. The Galactic Council misread it as hesitation, perhaps even fear. In truth, it was the silence before an extinction-class storm. Then came the blackout of Iarithis. What began as a sudden comms failure across 3 planets in the Iarithis sector quickly escalated. Supply chains froze. Defense grids deactivated without warning. Orbital satellites lost orientation and fell from the sky like meteor storms. No warning, no known weapon signatures, no Terran fleet in sight. And then, a single broadcast forced into every open channel from Council-controlled space to pirate frequencies in the fringe. For Elias Ward, moments later, the cities of Irithyss Prime turned into towers of fire. Precision kinetic strikes from unknown Terran sources shredded planetary shields and cored military complexes. Civilian centers were spared, for now, but the message was clear: Earth wasn't retaliating. It was declaring total war. At the heart of Earth's military operations, in a bunker beneath the icy crust of Europa, President Sana Okie stood with arms crossed before the holographic war map. The galaxy was burning, and Earth was lighting the match. General Arden Voss gestured to the map. Operation Spearfall is in motion. 9 Council-aligned military targets neutralized. No casualties on our side. Okoye nodded. Good. Begin Stage 2. I want the Dominion bloc's forward fleets crippled before they can organize. What about the colonies requesting asylum? Verify their claims. If they're innocent, offer protection. But if they were complicit in the vote for Elias's execution, her eyes narrowed. They get no mercy. On the rim of known space, the Dominion bloc flagship Varkel's Fong received partial intel. Human stealth cruisers had decimated their outer defense ring. 32 ships lost. No survivors. Commander Thresk, a veteran of 2 Council wars, stood before the burning holoscreens in disbelief. This is not the humanity we knew, he hissed. His adjutant, a data-born hybrid, spoke coldly. This is the humanity you created when you executed their diplomat. Thresk's silence was an admission. He, like so many others, had underestimated Earth. They had joined a chorus that saw humans as reckless, emotional, and easily cowed. But Earth had stopped pleading. It had begun hunting. By the end of the second week, Earth had reactivated military installations once thought to be mothballed, hidden facilities beneath Mercury's lava tubes, deep-sea bastions under the Pacific Trench, dark matter-based satellite stationed at Sol's Edge. Project Sovereign Flame, once a theoretical contingency for interstellar betrayal, was now the playbook. Humanity's response was not wild rage. It was methodical retribution. The Saber of Dawn, Earth's supercarrier, 10 kilometers long, housing over 30,000 personnel and an onboard AI with combat cognition surpassing most alien war minds, led the counteroffensive into Council space. A Council defense armada attempted to intercept. They were gone in 17 minutes. Meanwhile, on Earth, public mourning turned into resolve. Statues of Elias Ward were raised across continents. Schools recited his final speech. Children learned his name before they learned the names of planets. Civilians volunteered in record numbers. War bonds reached full funding in a single day. Earth's population, once weary of galactic politics, now stood united, not under fear, but righteous fury. They had sent a diplomat. The galaxy had sent back a corpse. Never again. In the war-torn skies of Varn Prime, the very colony where Elias Ward had been accused of inciting rebellion, a squad of Terran commandos liberated the Capitol Dome, executing Dominion loyalists and replacing them with local Democratic leadership. The lead commando, Lieutenant Kayla Ross, sent a direct message to Council Command. This colony is free. The next one won't need saving, because you won't be there. Council leadership scrambled. Emergency meetings. Blame, finger-pointing, and fear. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council was experiencing a threat it could neither coerce nor contain. Humanity wasn't seeking negotiation. It was ensuring no one ever dared raise a hand to them again. By the third week, Earth-controlled 14 former Council systems had executed 6 high-value Dominion leaders and hacked the Council's private diplomatic archives. The last recorded message from President Okoye to the galaxy went viral across every habitable world. We sent a diplomat. You sent us a hanging body. So now, we stop sending diplomats. We send fire. The shattered accord. Galactic unity had always been an illusion. A fragile agreement painted over centuries of rivalry and silent grudges. And now, under the thunder of Terran retaliation, that illusion shattered. The council chamber, once a symbol of interstellar cooperation, stood half-empty. Rows of polished seating were vacant. Delegates had either fled, defected, or gone into hiding. The Dominion bloc, once the council's iron spine, had lost 3 worlds and 2 admirals in just 21 days. Their fleets were bleeding. Their alliances were cracking. Ambassador Drethik of the Valari Confederacy, one of the remaining neutrals, looked around the chamber with disgust. "You executed their envoy in the name of order," he said coldly to Sarukoth, the Dominion's prime representative, "and in doing so, invited chaos. Was this the balance you imagined?" Sarukotha's reptilian eyes glowed with residual rage, but beneath it flickered fear. "We couldn't allow a species with their aggression to gain more influence. The human was respected," Drethik interrupted, "peaceful, and more trusted than most of us." He stood, his long silver cloak trailing behind. "My people withdraw from the council. Immediately. From now on, we will negotiate with Earth directly. At least they keep their word." The chamber murmured in stunned silence as the Valari walked out. It was the first formal fracture of the Galactic Accord in over 200 years. It wouldn't be the last. In deep space, Earth's Vindicator Corps moved like shadows. They weren't soldiers, they were retribution incarnate. Operatives drawn from humanity's most secretive intelligence wings. Ghosts trained for one task: identify, locate, and eliminate the architects of Elias Ward's death. Targets included judges, military commanders, media manipulators, and shadow financiers. In the span of 4 days, 6 such figures were assassinated. One died in a locked council chamber. One was found poisoned aboard a luxury dreadnought. The others vanished without trace, save for the small silver coin left behind at each scene. Stamped on one side, Elias Ward. On the other, we remember. The message was not subtle. You may erase records, but humans remember. Back on Earth, dissent flickered but never caught flame. A growing group of Terran intellectuals and peace advocates, known as the Continuance, attempted to call for a ceasefire. They argued that vengeance was understandable, but that war without restraint would doom Earth to become what it hated. They organized a peaceful demonstration in Geneva. The media covered it live. Mid-speech, a Continuance speaker asked, "Is our goal justice or endless domination?" Before she could finish, a survivor of the Iarthus campaign stood up and yelled, "They hanged a man who gave his life to save aliens like you." Shouts erupted. Fists flew. The protest collapsed into chaos. President Okoye did not speak publicly, but her office quietly cut all Continuance funding and revoked their access to government channels. Humanity, once known for its division and debate, had found something more powerful than unity. Collective grief turned into purpose, and grief sharpened into doctrine. Meanwhile, in a hidden chamber buried deep in Earth's Luna archives, an encrypted file labeled Protocol EW Prime was unlocked. Inside were video logs of Elias Ward's final diplomatic missions, footage long classified by Terran intelligence. Ward was seen negotiating the peaceful surrender of warlords on Jericho 9, delivering medical aid to dying colonies, and personally escorting alien refugees through war zones. One recording showed him telling a Dominion ambassador, "If you think Earth seeks domination, then you haven't listened. We seek respect. If you won't give it peacefully, I fear what comes next." The footage was broadcast globally. Even those who questioned the war now fell silent. Ward wasn't just a diplomat. He had been Earth's soul, and the galaxy had strung that soul from a wire. Within the crumbling council, desperation took hold. Several minor factions pleaded for peace. Others begged for time, but the Terran response was unmoving. "Deliver the ones who ordered the execution," came Earth's reply, "and step aside." But Sarukoth and the Dominion bloc refused. They activated contingency alliances, desperate to rally old enemies of Earth. Yet the seeds of fear had already taken root. Whispers spread that Earth's weaponry outmatched Council arsenals tenfold. That Terran AI fleets operated without the need for resupply. That even time itself bent under Terran hands. Some claims were myth. Many were not. The Galactic Council wasn't fighting Earth anymore. It was surviving Earth's memory of injustice. On the edge of the Tyro's expanse, a Terran battlecruiser entered orbit above an alien planet loyal to the Dominion. The planetary governor sent a panic transmission. We were not involved in the execution. We never voted. Please, we had no part in this. The Terran admiral replied. Then turn over your council archives. Full records. Every decision. Every name. There was silence. Then compliance. The Terran ship departed without firing a shot. Justice, for Earth, wasn't just about retaliation anymore. It was about rewriting the balance of power, system by system, mind by mind. Eternal war. 10 years passed. No peace accords. No armistice. No surrender. The galaxy had entered a new era, defined not by treaties or diplomacy, but by Terran occupation, planetary subjugation, and the constant shadow of orbital fire. The war had no name anymore. It simply was. Children born on alien worlds referred to it only as the Long Night. Their textbooks didn't include the Council's history. Those had been purged, rewritten, or overwritten by Terran-supplied data cores. The new lessons began with one phrase. They killed the man who came in peace. The execution of Elias Ward had become legend. His face, clean-shaven, calm, eyes burning with the weight of millions, was etched into memory chips, murals, and the chest plates of human shock troops. Earth had not just avenged him. It had become his legacy. In orbit above the charred remains of Varela's Prime, Terran Marshal General Kayla Ross stood aboard the Saber of Dawn. The battle had ended 3 days ago. Another Dominion world silenced. But this one had resisted harder, longer. Kayla gazed at the planet's ash-gray surface, her expression unreadable behind a matte black visor. Her aide, a young officer born years after the war began, stood silently beside her. They fought hard, the officer offered. Kayla didn't respond at first. Then, they thought holding out would make them remembered. A pause. Now, they'll be forgotten. She turned away from the viewport and walked back toward the command deck, passing a long corridor lined with glowing names, engraved into the titanium walls. The names of every fallen Terran diplomat, every envoy, peacekeeper, or negotiator killed since humanity entered galactic affairs. Elias Ward's name was the first. Above it, carved in black steel. No more diplomats. On the fractured world of Shundar, in a ruined temple now used as a Terran logistics hub, an alien boy no older than 10 stared silently at a hollow statue of Elias Ward. His father, once a council technician, stood behind him. Why do they honor him? The boy asked. He was just one person. His father replied carefully. He believed in peace. He tried to speak for them, even to us. Then why did we kill him? The man didn't answer, because deep down, he knew the truth. The council had made a show of strength. They had killed a symbol, and Earth had answered not with symbols, but fire, metal, and permanence. The Galactic Council no longer existed. Its former members had either been absorbed into Earth's growing protectorate network or splintered into isolated warbands, too scared to unify, too weak to resist. From the ruins of its bureaucracy, Earth had constructed the Terran Ascendancy, a vast interstellar command rooted not in political negotiation, but in military order and punitive justice. Alien cultures were preserved only when deemed non-hostile. Others were broken, assimilated. In some places, Earth was seen as a tyrant. In others, as a guardian, cold but reliable. Everywhere it was feared. A small diplomatic vessel, the Orleans Grace, approached Earth-controlled space from the fringe. Aboard it was an alien envoy, barely 20 cycles old, sent by a neutral coalition that had not yet been attacked. He requested audience, and surprisingly, it was granted. He was brought before Marshal Kayla Ross in a star chamber on the Martian fortress complex. Alone, no advisors, no translators. He spoke in fluent Terran Standard, a studied accent betraying hours of practice. "My people wish for peace," he said. Kayla's eyes never left his. We've done nothing against Earth. We were not part of the Council. Do you mourn Elias Ward? She asked. The envoy blinked. I wasn't alive when he died. Kayla nodded slowly. Then you were born into a better world. One that remembers what it cost us to try peace. She stepped forward. Her voice was soft but final. We don't make treaties anymore. We make terms. You either accept them, or your stars go dark. The envoy swallowed. And if we accept, then we teach your children to never build a gallows again. Back in orbit, the Saber of Dawn drifted through a field of broken ships. Former enemies, now monuments. Kayla Ross stood in the captain's chamber, reviewing new operations, fresh uprisings to suppress, disputed systems to seize. There was no end in sight, but that no longer mattered. Earth did not fight for ends. It fought for memory. The Terran flag, once flanked by hopeful stars, now bore a single emblem across its center, a silver coin, stamped with the face of Elias Ward, carried by every Terran soldier. And beneath it, Earth's new motto, whispered by fleet captains, ground troops, and indoctrinated children alike. Never another hanging. Never another Ward. Never again.